Yes, friends, the dynamic sky section is the part where you adjust settings within Twinmotion without using an HDR file, not dependent on HDR. Look, there are sun settings, It says certain hours of the day, time of day. Here, you can also change the direction of the sun. Here, you make a determination based on the time. In the part where the dynamic sky is, look, there are some presets at the top. There are certain times of the day, friends. Look, it says sunrise. It changes suddenly. Look, it's sunnier. They have set it as rainy, foggy, Mars surface, moon surface, like this. You come from the default section. You can add the part you like here. For example, when you take this rainy weather and add it here, look, it brings it here actively, friends. If you want to switch to the default section, you can do so again. Let's close this regarding it. The setting related to the sun is in this chest icon, friends. Look at this eye icon. When you press the eye icon and come to the sun icon, you can set it this way at certain times of the day. It's a nice method, friends. The same setting is also here. So if you want to go from here, you can go from here as well. Now, in the sky section, there is the turbidity part. This actually tries to highlight the slight mist and pollution, thus those dust particles presented in our world. I would like you to look at the background. Look at this part, friends. Do you see it? It's a part that shows the pollution in cities slightly. You can also adjust its value from here. If you adjust this, you make it very small. It becomes a dust particle approaching you. Where would you use this? In cities and outdoor areas on crowded streets. When you use this, you get a nice realistic image. Friends, in the cloud section, there are 2D and volumetric parts. The 2D part is the 2D we are currently using. Meaning, look, I will adjust this. Do you see how it looks mate? As if it were hand-painted. But when you switch to the volumetric part, three-dimensional, clouds come into play. When the three-dimensional aspect comes into play, friends, I can also select the clouds here from the custom section. I can adjust it according to my preferences. After selecting this, when I press the plus sign again, it appears here. At the same time, I can make adjustments to these from here, friends. I can adjust the height or the density. When you change the density and height settings, your lighting actually changes as well. Look, when I set it to overcast, it becomes a matte image because the sunlight doesn't hit inside too much. This varies, friends. Let's see what else there is as we scroll down. Look, there is a scale for size. I mentioned it in previous lessons. If you click on these small arrows here, you will see detailed settings related to them. You changed both the color of the light, the cloud, and made various adjustments. Look, you can see the sections. These are important. Play with them and try to constantly change the effect. There is a weather section. In the weather section, there are new features introduced in 2025. One of these is the rain effect, the snow effect, and the change effect on the plants below, friends. The rain effect is very easy. When you bring it towards the center, the rain section appears. In the rain section, you handle the task of the rain droplets, which we call puddles, from this detailed part. Look, you came here, and it tells you puddle. When you increase these, you can see the effect of the rain droplets and the puddles on the ground. From here, you can make them larger and wider, allowing them to spread. Again, you can automatically change its position. Right away, friends. Very simple and very easy. When you go down, there's fog, the fog section. And as you can see, it casts a fog in the background. And if you adjust the high section, you can make the fog spread and disperse towards you, meaning it can spread and disperse a lot on the screen. This is how the process works. You can change the color of the fog from here. In the horizon section, there's something like the background image part. Friends, let me show you that as well. Let's close the fog a bit like this. Look, when I say enable, let's remove this in the background. Look, a picture has appeared in the background. As you can see, friends. Here, look, you can rotate this again. When you click on the city section, there are various images. When you use them, if you want to close the background like this, you can cover the distant parts in this way. At the very bottom, there is the ocean section. When you say enable, look, the ocean appears. Let's do it. Like this. Let's leave it at a full level. Look like this. As you can see, at 0 level, everywhere is now covered with the ocean. This is actually a part that burdens the processor and graphics card when used entirely. I turned it off from enable. This is the process, friends. Very simple. If you play with these settings in the dynamic sky section, you will get very nice values. When you switch to the HDR section, I showed it in the previous lesson. When you use the HDR file here, you achieve the necessary and dynamic effect.